The use of a bigger letter types, different color, uh, underscoring are methods to draw attentions of the record users to highlighted problems or events. This information should be shown on the health records folder covers or face sheets under special headings. So one of the ways that you can attract the attentions of the users, of the records users, is underlining your important words that you want someone to see, or maybe you can highlight it, or you can use a bigger letter, capital, or maybe you can decide to use different colors. So when you're doing this, you can actually make sure that any information that you want the attentions of the user to be drawn to, you can make that visible clearly on the cover of the folder or maybe in the front sheet, uh, so that whoever is using or is attending to the patients cannot miss that important information. Other considerations in filings, we have satellite record centers. Satellite record center is a place, either can be within the hospital or outside the hospitals, where records of longer periods are taken, are kept rather. So there are some places in the hospital where it is necessary to keep records for a longer period of time, because we have, for example, we have records of kidney transplant, we have records of women who plan to deliver in the facility, we have records of newborns, we have records of patients of uh, chronic diseases. So all these records need to be kept for a longer period of time, and therefore we need a record center that we call as satellite record centers. So, for example, like I talked about renal dialysis, kidney transplant patients suffering from cancers or having radiation therapy, chemotherapy sessions, or prenatal records of women who plans to deliver in the facility. These are the records that really need to be kept for quite longer period of time, and we need a special record center to do this for the patient, and that record center is called satellite record center. So let us talk about a topic of records control and chart tracking system. Uh, in the existence of paper-based records, in the existence of paper-based records, the records are requested from the facility. The records are being used from the facility for various reasons. We can talk about patient's care. We can talk about continuity of patient's care. We can talk about research purposes. We can talk about medical legal issues. We can talk about education and teaching. So all of these are the reasons why medical records are requested from the department. However, whatever reasons why the records is requested, we must have a procedure, a protocol of which each and everyone must follow, and a way of tracking how these records leave the medical record department, and how we can identify wherever they have gone, and who has taken them, and how long are they going to use them, and how safe are the records. We need to be able to control these records from outside and within the medical record department when it comes to requests of the records for any reason. So when records leave the facility, we can be able to control the movement of the records. We can be able to track the locations of the records. Only thing we need to do is that we need to have policies in place and procedures that will help us to control the movement of the records, that will help us to track the movement of the records within the facility. So we need to have things or the protocol put in place that will help in tracking the movement of the records, that will help controlling how people uses the medical records within the medical record department. So Under record chart or record control and chart tracking systems, we have some of the steps that we can use in controlling records and tracking the records. Number one, we need health record request policies. So certain policies should be determined by the medical record department and approved by the health record committee relating to requesting health records. So the medical record committee, those are the committee of the medical records which are set within the facility. In the concepts of health records, I think we talked about who are these people, who are the committee of the medical records, and how should they be selected, who should be included, and what are their responsibility. We talked about them. So this committee have a responsibility of approving the policies that should be there to help control and track the records movement within the facility and outside the facility. So the first thing that we need is to have health records policies. So under health record policies, our policies will state records should not be removed from the health record department except for patient's care. So nobody should remove the health records from the medical record department except when they are doing that for the purpose of caring of patients. Another one, health records being sent to clinics or unit must be signed out, showing the patient's name, health record number, date, and names of the clinics, doctor, or unit, whichever is appropriate. So it is very important to really ensure that whoever takes records from the medical records department must make sure that they sign showing the responsibility that the record is under their control. So you must make sure that whoever takes the record from your medical record department sign in. Sign out. Sign in is when they are returning, they sign in. When they are taking them or are moving them from the medical record department, they must sign out. So that means we need to design a sign out slips for them to fill in the names of the patient, the purpose of the records, the purpose why they are borrowing the records, how long they are going to take the records, when are they returning the records, and where are they taking records to, and who they are. It's very important to have these informations before allowing any records to leave your department so that you can be able to make a follow-up at the end of the day if the person failed to return the medical records within the time frame that you both agreed on. Another policy is that a time frame must be set in which all records must be returned by the requesting individuals, preferably by the end of the business day. Records of a discharged patient should be sent to the health record department by the day following the discharge of the patients. The health record department staff should follow up on any records not returned within the required time frame. So if anybody borrow records from the department, you must have been agreed on a time frame. For example, I borrow a record from your department and I said I'm going to return your medical records after 2 weeks. So after 2 weeks, you must make sure that I have returned the records. If I don't do that, then you have to make a follow-up. Why have I not returned the records? And when am I going to do that? So you must be able to make a follow-up. And for those records of the patient that are always being discharged from the facility, if the patient is being discharged today, for example, tomorrow we need to get those records of those patients brought to the medical record department and they should be filed. We do this to ensure that medical records are always kept within the facility where they belong, so that anytime they are again needed for patients' care, they will always be available. Another policy is that records for research should be reviewed in the health record department if possible. It is a good suggestion. If you ever want records for research, I come to your medical record department and I say that, okay, I need to do some research, so I need the records of any patient who is suffering from cancer. You may give me the records, but of course you will follow the procedures of releasing the records to the third parties. So if you do that, you may not allow me to go with the records anywhere. I may sit there and review whatever I want from the files right there in the medical record department. But you may have a problem with a space where I need to sit and do my review. So in that case, I will still need to do what? To follow the regular procedures of signing the record out, and you must make sure that this record that I've signed must be available if the patient is presented for care or treatment within the facility, because we do not want issues where the doctors need the files of the patients in order to render services to them, and then you would be saying that somebody took the records and hasn't returned them. That is not the excuse that would be recommended or accepted. So you are advised to ensure that you make sure these records are always ready, available whenever they're needed for patients. Okay, yeah. All right. Where possible, patient services that are made on appointment basis, such as for clinic visit, inpatient admissions, and outpatient surgery, should be known in the health record department within a specific period of time, a 24 hours periods being a good minimum. So what we are saying is that, that we have these patients who may have a special time to come or visit the facility for their treatment. And of course, in case of anything like that, probably they are supposed to inform you as a medical records officer or assistant early enough so that you can make sure that these informations are available maybe even when you are not there. So some of them may have appointment to see the doctor in the night. They may have appointment to see a doctor even when you are not there. So if the appointment is tomorrow, somebody is coming to see a doctor tomorrow, make that medical records available right now, 24 hours ahead. Yeah, so because, and also those doctors have a right to inform you about the appointment they have so that you can make those medical records available in time, and they can also give you enough time to arrange for the availability of those informations. The other thing is that patients' care areas are responsible for providing the exact and complete patient's information needed to retrieve the health records. Computerized systems allow the medical record staff online access to the appointment schedules. So probably the patient's care areas will be responsible for giving the information which is necessary for the patients. So it should not be for any other thing. The people getting appointment, uh, people getting services. So all of those provision of of the information mainly should be done within the patient's care area. The thing is that record requests for research or for administrative purpose should be considered as a routine request. So you don't have to be surprised if somebody is coming to request the information for research or for administrative purposes, because that is, we consider them as a routine request. So anytime, any day, that request may come, and that means those information must always be available for such kind of purposes. Next, state requests are non-routine requests. We have requests of the records that, for example, the patients without appointment. We have, for example, a request that comes, for instance, on patient with the chronic diseases, or maybe for further investigations, further planning of the patient's care and something like that. So these are not very common. And of course, we may not be so pressurized over that as a record assistant. However, they must always still be available at the facility. And then we have those who may come to the facility even without the appointment. Yeah, most of the patients go to the facility without the appointment, meaning you will not be informed early enough to provide those information available. But you must be ready to provide this information any time and whenever they are being requested. And then we have urgent requests that are usually made on phone or computer. the health record personnel are required to complete the requesting procedures immediately. So if you receive a request from any person asking you to release the medical records at a particular time, it may be done on phone, it may be done through emails. You must be able to do this as fast as possible. Because, for example, in a state where electronic health records is being used, where information can be shared within the hospital or within the nation, definitely you must be in standby with records. That means retrieval and identification must be of high speed so that you can be able to deliver this request as soon as it is ordered. Next is that as a medical records professional, you should develop procedures in order to maintain complete controls over incoming and outgoing records. So the records that are coming into your department, we have those records that are being created new as new records. Then those that are leaving the department under requests for research purpose, medical legal issues, etc. You must have full control over them. You must know where they're going, how long will they take there, who is taking them, and then when are they supposed to be returned. And also you must have all the information to make a follow-up where necessary. Then another chart tracking, record control and chart tracking system, another steps is having health record request. So requisition slips is usually a multi-copy. One thing you would need for someone who is requesting records, it will be what we are calling requisition slips. Requisition slips, it is a form that you design which will consist of the patient's name, the requisites. Someone who is borrowing the records must write their name, where they're taking the records, how long are going to take the records, what are the purposes of taking the records, who is the representative, where is the signature, what source that they have contacted or discussed this with the patient, the owner of the records. And it depends the types of the records or how they come, because we have different ways of users of records. We have personal and impersonal. So when you are doing this, you must be able to know where are they coming from. Is it personal or impersonal, so that you can be able to protect their privacy where necessary. So two, one copy of the slips is attached to the records and another copy becomes the sign out slips. So after they have filled those forms, the sign out forms, you are going to photocopy it. Original copy will remain with you. And then one copy, you will attach it to the forms or to the records that you are giving to them. The one that you have, you will put it in a position where you have removed the records from inside the files. So it will replace the records you have removed from the files, so that it will guide you, it will act as a guide to help you understand that this record has been taken away and the one who took it is so and so, and the duration which they are supposed to stay with the records is this and that, and you will be able to know whether they have gone, the dates or the periods is overdue or not. Then you can be able to make a follow-up. You can be able to trace wherever the record has gone and something like that, and probably you'll be able to have full control over your records. This is very important. Is important rule to consider, especially when you have third parties that normally uses your records in order to control the movement of the records and handle your records within the medical record department. So there will be no issues of record lost without your control, without your understanding, etc. It is very, very important. And I think that if a computerized chart tracking system is used, this is now when you use a computer, when you have a computer instead of manual. When you have a computer, out guides or tracers are not necessary, because everything can be processed, requested using a computer, and you can be able to retrieve the information using a computer and send them wherever they have been requested from, without any other further struggles compared to manual system. And then the health record department should be informed when a record is moved from one area to another. Yes, it's very important. For example, if I bought a record from your department and then somebody wants the same record from me, I need to inform you as a medical record officer that so and so want the record from me. And then you will have to change my location, the location of the records from your system. If you agree that I should give this person this record, it simply means you have to change the location, because the record will not now be with me. The records now will be with the other person. So the information that which is filled in the sign out slips in your computer must be updated with the current person who is using the records. I hope it is clear. Right. So we have other steps that we consider, and that's what we call out guides or tracers. The out guides, it is what replaces the records which has been removed from the files for any purpose. So any records that you remove from the files, you must replace it with the out guides. And the out guides must consist of the details of a persons who have taken away the records from your department. It's as simple as that. And we have automated tracking system, the sharp tracking system that can really help you to track the records automatically. So the requesting and tracking of records with aids a computer helps to reduce and limit some very routine jobs. So when you're doing your verifications, number assignment, processing, controlling, tracking, using a computerized system or an automatic sharp tracking system, it will be very easy for you. There are some of the jobs that the computer can do quicker than if you are handling it manually, because the computer can print the requisition slips, can sort them in order, can store them, can provide the information on the location of the records, whether it is in the fifth floor and other quality management. So it will be much easier to use an automated chart tracking system. That is just like when you're using the computer in doing some other things than manual. So let's talk about the other steps, that is color coding. Color coding is when you use colors that are in various positions, especially around the edges of the health record folders. So for example, if you have this is the file, then you have a number here. Let's say we have a number 2641. So if you have numbers like that, you can actually decide to use different colors. Then you say if in your filing you're considering 41, then you will highlight the number that you're using in the blue or in red color, depending on the color that you have chosen to do what to use. But it should be an highlighter, not something else that can obstruct the records. The number like this one I'm using, you will not be able to see 41, but you just use an highlighter. And a lighter that can just help you to just something like this kind.
That's why it's not working, the color is not working. So you have a lighter to color the number you are using. Why do we do that? Because even if you have someone who is not well trained, you just tell a person when you are filing, you will consider primary digits, which is red in color. So on the folder of the patient's file, you will find that the number which is considered is given a different color, so that easier sorting will be there. Issues of misfilings may be eliminated, and also if there is any error, you can also be able to detect it, and as well, retrievals of the records can also be improved. So that's the reason why we may need to do the color codings. Just a matter of choosing the number you are considering. If you're filing, are you considering tertiary? If you're considering tertiary, you give tertiary a color red, and all the tertiary must bear red if you are using red for tertiary for the number you are considering. Then the rest you will give them other colors. But the numbers that you are considering in filing, you will also you will give them a special number, so that it can be able to carry out some of the things to do with detecting filing errors, avoiding filing errors, facilitating sorting, and also easing retrieval of records. So that is that. I want to talk about transportations of health records. There's nothing that I may spend much of the time here, because when I talk about transportation, this is just the way records moves from one place to another. How the records moves may not be very important, but the way they are handled. When you are carrying a record from one unit to another department, how do you handle it? Are you rough with the records, and who does that? So
in the facility, the facility may be able to employ a messenger in transporting the medical records. Whenever someone, a doctor requests a record from any units, you will have a messenger that will help you in sending that records there. So when they are doing that, if it is raining, the records must be in waterproof, whatever it is that can protect the record from the rains. If it is not the way you are handling the records, instead of rolling the records, instead of bending the records, instead of folding it, you must avoid, because you do not want the records to be damaged. So transportation of record is very important, and doesn't matter how you do it, but all that matters is you must ensure that people are carrying records well, and they are not being destroyed easily. And the other thing that we have right here is other record controls. Other record controls. Probably we are going to continue from there when we meet. For today, let us be able to stop here.